Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Bulletproof For BJJ podcast. I'm JT, and I'm here with my man, Joey.
What's up, guys?
And we are going to be discussing the golden ratio. 2-3-3. What is the golden ratio of Bulletproof For BJJ? Elaborate.
This is our general recommendation for the average jiu-jitsu player who wants to be strong, wants to be mobile, wants to be as kind of injury-proofed as you can, as anyone can be, and also get better at jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. So we're taking into account you don't have a shitload of time to spend in the gym. You would really like to be spending as much time as possible on the mats, getting better at that.
Of course.
You're not a gym bro or a gym gal. It's not your thing. But you're willing to put some time into it. And this is, all right, well, here's what we reckon you should be doing each week. Now, it's the base 2-3-3 is what we call it. And once you've got our app in your hands, which is coming soon, a lot of the stats that the app will be giving you about your training and the feedback is based on this 2-3-3. But it's simply 2 strength sessions per week, 3 jiu-jitsu, 3 mobility, right? So it's a total of 8 sessions in the week that you need to tick off. So we're going to go into it. We're going to talk about the ratio, and then we're going to kind of go into some common questions, because obviously you probably already have some questions about it listening to this. You're like, but I want to train jiu-jitsu 5-6 times. Like, what about that? Or like, I can't lift twice, or whatever. We'll go there.
Yeah, definitely. And look, this is something that we've come to over the years. This isn't something, we just made it up yesterday. I mean, we've been doing Bulletproof now like 4 years, bit more, and also our own experience working with people who do jiu-jitsu, from, world-class athletes down to everyday people. And really, there's a point of diminishing return. If you're actually lifting too much, it will negatively impact your jiu-jitsu. And what we're talking about here
and vice versa, right?
Vice versa.
If you're doing too much jits, that will negatively affect your jits and your lifting. And
the point of diminishing return is doing more doesn't make you better. This is a real misnomer. Like, one more session doesn't make you, and I think obviously we have touched on this before, where coaches just want you on the mat all the time.
Yeah.
Like, just be here every day. You'll be better.
Even when you're tired, show up.
Yeah. Even when you're injured, just be here. And it's like, that serves them, but that doesn't necessarily serve you. And what I have found with people who go really hard, they can't sustain it.
Yeah.
It's literally not sustainable. So they might be doing twice a day every day. Then they get injured. You don't see them for 3 months.
Yeah.
How many sessions are they doing when they're injured? 0. So when you average it out across the year, did they do more? No. If anything, they might have done less than that person who is showing up consistently doing 3 sessions a week.
Yeah.
And so this is something that we've come to.
Yeah, it's really the long game piece, isn't it? And I think like important to mention, like, this is some kind of basic shit, but it'd be remiss not to mention it. Like, you can only handle so much training in a week.
Yes.
Or you can only handle so much stuff. So,
Anything.
Work, family, like, whatever, your fucking dog got sick, like, shit that you got to do, you got to go help your parents with something, like,
take the car to the mechanic.
Yeah, all this sort of stuff is a load on you and on your physiology. And then you add jiu-jitsu, you add some strength training, you add some mobility. Obviously, when you're a bit younger, you've got less of those responsibilities. You also have a bit more kind of youthfulness on your side. So potentially you can push it a bit harder. As you get a bit older, like, things will change. But that basic principle of, like, you can only handle so much load each week is really the thing we're getting at here. So when we're looking at the general jiu-jitsu player, right, the average person who's like, I want to get better at jits, I also would like to be a bit stronger, and I see the benefit in going and doing a bit of strength work, whether that's following our program or something else, and I could definitely benefit from being a bit more mobile. We're like, well, if you hit the 2-3-3, you can improve across all of those areas, and you should also be able to recover adequately. Like, that's the minimum effective dose for you to get better across the board.
Key phrase. We've been saying it for a while now, guys, but the MED, minimum effective dose, it's not about, doing more equals better. It's like, what is the least amount you can do, which is going to give you what you need? And that's the thing. We're all geared up on peak performance and being the best. And all. It's like, actually, to improve, you don't have to do that, but you do have to be consistent. So what is going to be something that you can repeat on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis? And yeah, like what we've found in ourselves and also in people we coach and train is that if you're lifting consistently twice a week, you'll get stronger. And also, if you're putting aside just a small amount of time every week to focus on improving your range of motion, whether it be your hips, your shoulders, your back, whatever it is, you will get better.
Yeah.
And this has crazy crossover in terms of unlocking how good you feel. You know, I think we just accept as jiu-jitsu people that we're going to feel fucked up. Oh, I'm sore all the time. Jiu-jitsu life. You know, but
I was talking with a friend of ours yesterday, a black belt,
yep.
who was like sort of relaying to me how for the last few years he's actually felt depressed because his body was so beaten up.
Yeah.
Fucking savage jiu-jitsu player, but like beaten up, broken. And he's like, man, I was actually fucking depressed. And then he's like, and since I've just been into all this mobility shit, like I've only now realized how shit I felt.
Compared to now.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow, that's huge, right? Like like it not only unlocks the body, it unlocks like some fucking mental darkness.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure. And so, I mean, but so let's talk about this. Like, because some people are like, well, what's mobility? Because we bang on about it all the time.
What is a session?
What's a mobility session? What's that look like?
So, all right, here's how we've framed it. When you are newer to the mobility piece, which is arguably, of all the shit we're putting out right now, this is the stuff that the majority of people are less familiar with.
Yes.
When you're newer to it, it's really just about building a habit. So it's about, hey, pick a few stretches, few basic things. They can be dynamic, they can be static. It doesn't really matter. Like, it's just about doing a bit of work on your mobility, handful of times per week. Now, our recommendation for the beginners out there is that you tack this on to either the beginning or the end, or ideally both, of your jiu-jitsu training.
Yes.
So you would do 10 to 12 minutes in your warm-up, 10 to 12 minutes in your cool-down.
This is before class, and we're not saying during the warm-up of your class. Show up early, do a little bit to get yourself right, and then finish at the end doing some stuff to make you feel better.
Exactly. So if let's say you're training jiu-jitsu 3 times a week, then and let's say you're only doing the warm-up. Let's say you're like, oh, this is fucking hard for me. All right, 10 minutes before the class starts, your own personal warm-up, 3 times a week. That ticks the boxes of the 3 mobility sessions, right? Yeah. For the more intermediate to advanced practitioner, that no longer constitutes a mobility session.
No.
All that is really is just you doing some movement prep before you start training.
Taking care of business.
That's right. And so in that way, what our expectations of you are is as you get further down this path, you do your little movement prep before class, but your mobility training actually happens separately from that. Yep. And don't get me wrong, you could still do it before jiu-jitsu or after, but it's more like 10, 15, 20 minutes where it actually becomes more of a focused mobility session that is designed to push the needle on your range of motion.
Yeah, you've got to get repeated reps to get the gains.
That's right. And it's strength training, right? When we're talking about some of the stuff that's in our like intermediate and advanced like in standards and in the mobility foundation that's coming, the update to that program on the new app, it's strength training at that point. It's loaded mobility, it's dynamic, like you're moving, you're contracting, you're really, if you look at that, it's like it's no different to the stuff you're doing for your deadlifting and your squatting and shit. So in that regard, it requires more focus and it requires energy, and it also requires you to have the intention of trying to get into better positions.
Yes.
So for the beginner, it's just about building the habit and unlocking some like tightness. But then for someone who's really trying to sort of take it to the next level, you need to be applying the same idea of progressive overload to your mobility training that you are to your strength.
That's right.
So it's like, all right, last week I was working this for my hip flexors. All right, this week I want to get to here. Yep. I want to get to this range, or I want to get to this on the pancake, or whatever it is. I want to feel
freer.
That's right.
Yeah, I want to do that and not feel like my hip's going to snap in half.
Yeah.
It's like I'm working there, but I'm not dying there.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting feeling. And what I found, at least when I was doing the seminars, I would make people do the first round, and then everyone's like, that's fucked. I hate mobility. What are you doing to us? Get them to do a second round. Automatically, people are like, oh, this is easier. It's like, yeah, of course. We found a bit more range. We've got a bit more blood in there. Third round, people are like, dang.
God status.
I'm mobile.
Yeah.
I don't need this. I'm done.
I'm sold on stretching. I'm going to do this every day for the rest of my life.
Walk out. See you later.
Last time. Yeah.
But that's the truth. the hardest part is like getting through that initial bit where it doesn't feel so good to then make the gains.
Yeah.
And I guess the thing is too, actually, I think Range of Strength might have said this. It's mobility until it's a strength exercise, and it's a strength exercise until it's a mobility exercise. There's like a cycle to it that like you're trying to improve your range of motion, and then once you've improved it, you strengthen it until maybe that limits your ability to go further, and then like it was interesting the way he said it. I'm kind of butchering.
Yeah, I think it's mobility. It's mobility first, and then it's strength.
Strength,
right? Because you unlock the range, and then you strengthen it.
Yeah.
So we talk about it like with a back squat or a goblet squat. It's like someone that's tight. They're going to find that the little bit of load allows them to get a bit deeper. And so the emphasis for that individual should be, let's just try and get deep. Let's just try and make this position as fully expressed as possible.
Yep.
Whatever that is, right? Maximum knee bend, maximum hip flexion, neutral spine, as an example. And then once you've achieved that, and it's like, all right, now let's fucking load that up. Let's get really strong there.
All through.
But if you try to do the second thing without doing the first thing, you fuck yourself up, right?
Very hard to do. So yeah, add range before load. That's the thing I learned from people smarter than me. But what? Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just going to reinforce. Yeah. So the expectations for the less experienced practitioner are different to the more experienced ones.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And what do we say to people who say, golden ratio, 3 jits a week, that's not enough. What about more jits? I want to train jits 5 times a week, Joey. What do you say to me?
I say to you, James, you can train as much jits as you want, right? We don't want to fuck with that. And that's your thing.
Cool.
However, personal opinion, unless you're a professional athlete, unless you're like trying to be as competitive as possible with jiu-jitsu, I would argue that any more than 5 sessions is just ridiculous. Okay, let me clarify that. If you are doing 5 classes and then you're also doing a couple of sessions where you get together with someone and you're workshopping, drilling, that kind of thing, that's not really a session. As I see it, a session is like you're drilling, you're going through some new technique, and then you're rolling.
Sparring, yeah.
Right, sparring. So take this with a grain of salt. Feel free to kind of, the lines are blurred
the
there.
Meow brothers are ballowing in their graves right now.
Yeah, actually, he's like, my joints feel great. Of course, there's no tendons.
No ligaments, no issues.
Yeah. But so like I said, you take it with a grain of salt. But for the general practitioner, and this is me too, right? These days, I'm not doing standalone drilling. I don't make time for that. I go to a class. I know that that's where I'm going to get my jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
So I go to class, we do the warm-up, we do the technique, we do some positional stuff, and then we spar.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, if I'm looking at that, and this is the standard jiu-jitsu class approach, 3 of those a week is enough for you to progress.
Yes.
Right? Now, if you want to do more, by all means do more, but understand that by doing more, you are potentially taking away from your ability to recover. And then if you are taking away from your ability to recover, we have to ask, are you actually getting as much from those jiu-jitsu sessions as you could be? Now, if the answer to that is an honest, and maybe not, well, then perhaps less is more.
Yes.
So perhaps by doing 3, and when you do 3, like, okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week, I'm training. You set that at the beginning of the week. You show up to those sessions with an intention. Yep. This is my first, this is my second, this is my 3rd session this week. I'm getting the most out of this. But if you're showing up like, yeah, I'll probably go in tonight. Oh, yeah, I'll go in tomorrow night. And then, often it's a flaky approach and you kind of half in the session. You're not really bringing much energy. Do you know what I mean? I've been guilty of that.
Yeah, for sure.
So I really do believe that less is more in that regard.
So volume doesn't necessarily equate to quality.
Exactly.
Because you're like, I'm going to train tomorrow, so it doesn't matter if I kind of...
Shit night tonight.
Yeah.
If I got tapa, whatever.
It's how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting psychologically how it goes. But here's the thing. This is what I'd say if you want to quantify this. If we said that a training session, say you got 3 a week, so each session is 33% of your jiu-jitsu for that week. Adding a 4th session doesn't equal, I'm now at 133%.
No.
Does that make sense? Because if you've done 3 sessions, you're like, yeah, I'm going to go to open mat on Friday night. You might come in really wasted. Like, end of the week, you kind of just chug over the line. It's not actually 33%. That's like a 5% effort. But what it might do to your body is actually send you backwards. And this is this law of diminishing returns. Doing more doesn't equal getting more. In the same way, if you do 4 sessions right now and you're like, yeah, I'll add a 5th, you're not now at plus 25%.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's not as simple as that.
It's not that simple equation. And what you might find is you're so sore on Saturday, you can barely do the house jobs. You can't, oh man, I'm going to skip gym today because I just body's so sore. My neck got cranked last night.
I can't tell you. So I had a conversation with a bloke, I think he was a brown belt. Can't remember his name now, but from the UK. And he was like, man, I fucking love what you guys do. It's on the Instagram. I want to ask your advice about recovery, blah, blah, blah. And when we, back and forth, when we got into it, this guy was training jiu-jitsu 5 days a week.
Right.
He was lifting weights 5 days. So he's like, I go to do my work. At lunchtime, I go and do a 60-minute weight session. I do that 5 times a week. And then I train jiu-jitsu in the evenings. And then on the weekends, I usually go to an open mat on a Saturday, sometimes a Sunday as well. And then, and he's like, I want to get strong. I want to get better. What do you think? And I was like, what's your setup? Like, you got family, kids? What's that? He's like, yeah, I got kids. I'm like, how's your sleep? Are you spending enough time with your family? He's like, nah, it's fucked. Like, weekend rolls around. I can't even, I'm just so tired. I hardly got energy for my kids. Yeah. He's like, yeah, I feel beat up as shit. I wake up and I'm like, bro, fucking cut it out. Do less.
Yes.
And for someone like that, and I know there's a lot of people listening who are in a similar position, if you are a high achieving type and you are used to this high volume approach to your training, it is very hard to take your foot off the gas.
Yeah.
But once you can actually experience that life itself becomes more enjoyable when you're recovering better from things, and that being able to give time to the other things in your life that are important, which are whatever they are to you. For this guy, I'm like, arguably you want to be in better shape for your kids, right? He's like, sure, that is important to me. So it's like, all right, well, let's free up some fucking recovery time so that you can be. But once you realize, fuck, I can actually perform better in those things, and I'm not going backwards in all this jiu-jitsu and strength training shit, I think that it's a real light bulb moment. You're like, fuck, I can do more with less.
How dare you, Joe Worthington, bring enjoyment into this?
I know.
People aren't getting into this for enjoyment. They're getting into it for the brutality.
I'm so fucking weak.
God. But I mean, what about more weights? I actually find that I lift. I mean, I do jits 3 times a week, but I love lifting weights. It's part of my identity.
Yeah.
I like to do weights 4 or 5 times a week. Now, do I always do it 4 or 5 times a week? No, sometimes it's 3. But I do like getting in the gym.
Fucking pussy.
Get a pump. And there's a lot of people out there, maybe they have CrossFit background, powerlifting background. They're used to being in
People do CrossFit these days?
Yeah, I heard. They still exist.
I thought they all went to F45.
They may have. No, man. I think it's one of those things that's difficult to it's whatever your habit is. So for some people, they're like, I'm a runner. I do jits, but I run every day.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. It's that.
Fuck that. No more running. It's over.
But it's the default mode of, I enjoy this, I do it.
Yeah, that's another hobby, isn't it?
Right. What would you say to the person like our man, Cash?
Oh, Cash.
He's been getting his pump on lately.
I got some footage. Cash crushed it at a recent comp.
Yeah, Cash 84.
Yeah, my man. Yeah. He's going to, from New Jersey, shout out, bro.
Shout out.
He's going to, he sent me some stuff. I'm going to do a little featurette on him.
Dirty pump.
He got really upset over that meme I posted a couple of days ago about the guy falling off his bike because injured because not doing enough mobility.
But he knows that's him. But he knows it.
But I'm like, bro, you harbor resentment because you're mobile now, and this hurts you.
I think it's one of those things that
if you want to lift,
for me,
if you're the lifting type, right, as you are, and I'm somewhat of an enthusiast in the gym, then I think you just got to recognize that that's also a hobby you enjoy.
Sure.
And I'm not trying to advise on that, right? So it's like, well, if it's important to you to also train jiu-jitsu but also do some lifting or whatever that is, do that, but understand that there is a balance between the two. I definitely wouldn't say if you want to lift 5 days a week, do it.
Yeah.
But monitor, and you obviously do this, right? I'm not telling you specifically.
No.
For folks, it's like, hey, that's great. And we've spoken about this before. Understand that the lifting culture you're in wants you just to lift.
Yeah.
And understand that your jiu-jitsu culture
just wants you to
do jits.
Yeah.
So if you just follow what both cultures say, you will fucking have a head-on collision with life. So you have to be able to understand what the culture's giving you and then go, hey, actually, for me, I think this is what's best. So, I'm down with that. I'm like, if you're a gym enthusiast, man, train more than 2 times a week strength.
Yeah.
But understand what's what's the term, maximum recoverable volume.
Yeah, and there is a cost.
Yeah.
There is a cost. And the thing is, and I see this so much, people say, oh, there's a saying which is there's no such thing as overtraining, just under-recovering. But if we just take that away and go, if you want big performance, you need big recovery.
Yeah.
And we're not just talking like, oh, I'm trying to get in an ice bath or, I'm eating liver or whatever, whatever.
I ate like a bull's testicle like last year, so I'm good.
I'm
good
good
on the recovery front. Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's like making time to allow your body to rest, digest, and bounce back. If you're always working, then you're never really building.
I was chatting with a white belt yesterday who's fucking 6 months in the game. Kid's a savage. We're doing some leg lock training together.
Oh, cool.
Shout out to Kim. He's fucking great, right? And he was like, sorry. He's like, sorry, I'm a shit training partner. I'm like, whatever, bro. You're great. Like,
oh, exciting.
Phone's connected to Bluetooth because we're going to be doing a voicemail shortly.
That's Kim right now.
Hey, it's Adam Childs.
Oh.
Hey, Adam.
Hey, Adam. You're on the He's like, hey, man, I just want to complain about this injury I got.
Hey, bro.
We just candidly.
I did strength training last week and got hurt. I'm quitting.
Just snag him.
But anyway, Kim's like, bro, I need to get stronger. Like, I can feel I need to do it. What's the deal? Like, what do I need to do? Oh, he said, can you write me a program? I'm like, bro, I've written your program.
I've got it for you. We got you.
But I'm like, how much jiu-jitsu doing? He said, I'm doing 8 sessions a week. And I was like, bruh.
Whoa.
I'm like, too much.
Yes.
I'm like, I get it. You're into it. You're really good. Obviously, there's a lot of benefit that come from that. But I would argue, I reckon you could do 5.
Yeah.
I could do 4 and you'd still be fucking just as good, if like getting good at the same rate, if not faster.
Yeah.
So, and that's just an example that can happen when you're like, fuck, the more I show up, the better I get. Not necessarily the case in the gym or on the mats.
This is a hard psychology to break because once you get that feeling of my jiu-jitsu is working, I'm so good, I'm getting better and it's such a satisfying feeling. You're like, well, I just have to do more to get more.
Yeah.
But my Russian coach, Efim, it was like that red pill, blue pill, Morpheus. Like, what if I told you could get stronger by lifting less? What? How's that possible? And I think until you actually do it and you take your foot off the gas pedal, okay, I'm just going to do this, enough of this, just enough of that, and you feel the benefit, you don't know.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to tell. But what about people who can't even hit the golden ratio? What if there's somebody out there who's like, man, I'm barely making 2 jiu-jitsu sessions. I could be lucky if I lift once a week and do mobility once a week. What do we say to the people who are barely getting there?
Well, I guess there is a point where we have to acknowledge like, hey, maybe this isn't for you. Right?
Sure.
And I'm saying like if you're barely getting to 2 jiu-jitsu sessions a week and you're at the beginner sort of stage, first couple of years, it's probably not enough for you to actually get something out of this sport.
But what if they love it? Like they just love it. It doesn't matter. They're going to keep trying as hard as they can until maybe life shifts around. Maybe their wife leaves them. They possibly quit their job and just go full-time par harder.
Oh, yeah, I like that. Well, if we're holding out for the big day.
No.
So we're talking there. Yeah, look, 1 strength session a week, that will tick the box.
Yep.
We've said that from the beginning where it's like if you can only do 1 session of strength per week, man, that will get you stronger, right? If you're just doing push-ups and pull-ups and some goblet squats, that will fucking do the trick. If you follow one of our programs, our advice has always been just do one of the workouts and repeat that workout every week. Don't jump between the 2 workouts.
Yes.
But yeah, that'll do it, right? You'll get there. 1 mobility session, yeah, sure. That'll be something, right? Something is absolutely going to help you in that regard. But I would say that like if you find that you are constantly struggling to hit the golden ratio, as an example, the 2-3-3, then I think something is not right in how you're managing your time.
Yeah.
Because if we're saying, 3 mobility sessions could be 10 minutes before class 3 times a week.
Break it up. Yeah.
Right? If we're saying that a couple strength sessions doesn't have to be a full 1 hour workout, I'm happy if you get in the garage and you do 20 minutes of something, 2 exercises, 5 sets, job done.
Yep.
You know, like I believe that everyone has that time.
We're only asking 2 hours. So
all we
if we
want,
said
guys.
45 minutes a strength session, so it's 2 of those, it's 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And your mobility is broken up into 3 sessions of 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's another half an hour. Like, you've got to think that there is a degree of sacrifice. So what does that mean? Okay, don't sit on the couch right now. Get down on the living room floor. You know, do your pigeons. You know, like do your lying rotations. Like push the coffee table back. Like make some space. Like you have to.
Don't go out and smash fucking 20 drinks on a Friday night after work.
No.
Because that's going to, whatever. Like go out, but you're going to wreck your Saturday.
Yeah.
So, okay, go sleep well, get up early Saturday morning, do your strength session.
Yeah.
Get it. Like the time is there if you want it to be.
That's right.
Of course, there are people that are in extraneous circumstances that do not have this luxury. Acknowledge that. But for the majority of folks, I believe it's totally achievable.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing about it. This is accessible to anyone who wants to get better at jiu-jitsu. And the whole excuse of I don't have time, it's some bullshit. Like, you've just got to make if you have 3 jobs, 3 kids, and your life is not under your own control, I would argue that in itself is not sustainable. And at some point, your health is going to careen off a cliff. So let's put jiu-jitsu on the side there. But know that this thing that we've fallen into in society, like, I'm busy, I don't have time, it's fucking bullshit. You've got to think, I want this thing, I'm prepared to do what it takes to commit to this thing. And it's a small degree of sacrifice, my friends.
We got a voicemail. Should we hit that up?
Let's get him in.
By the way, so that base 233, when you get your hands on our app, which is coming soon, you'll be able to track your weekly training, and it will give you feedback on that based on this recommendation. So it's really cool. It's a really simple way for you to just log your strength training and your mobility and your jiu-jitsu and get an idea of visually how am I performing each week.
Yeah.
And what we're hoping there is that can just help all of you be consistent with the work so that you're like, holy shit, I've been consistent with this for 3-6 months. Look at the gains I've got. I'm onto a good thing.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. I'm pumped for it.
Voice message from Chris.
Hey guys, my name is Chris. I'm from Wisconsin in the United States. I'm just a white belt and new to jiu-jitsu, coming from a powerlifting background. And I've found my mobility, my gas tank, everything is just in the worst shape. Hoping to get your insight on the best way a powerlifter can transition into jiu-jitsu. Thanks.
Cool.
That's a solid question. Very appropriate for today's chat.
Definitely.
Thank you for the message, Chris. Shout out to the good people of Wisconsin.
Yo, Wisconsin. We love you.
Man, that's a great question. So what does a powerlifter look like generally, JT? What are we talking there?
We're talking SBD, squat, bench, deadlift. And
So big and strong.
But also the way that a lot of these lifts are done are to control bar path and control range of motion. Like a typical thing, and I don't know if this is you, Chris, because there's some exceptions to this. The type of squat, like a low bar back squat, is to put the bar as far down your back as you can kind of maintain it, so it's closer to your hips, so your leverage is better. You also only have to get to kind of just inside of 90 to achieve that.
Yeah.
Maximal effort.
So you're not going for range. You're going for hit the standard because it's a sport, right?
Yeah, and this
I
is
want to lift as much as I can for this sport.
max load, and there's huge benefits in gaining a degree of strength, but because it is such a defined sport as these 3 moves, they're also very linear. It's very bipedal, and so what we mean is 2 hands, 2 legs. It's not asymmetrical, and we know that jiu-jitsu is very asymmetrical. So as a result, when you get people to do things that are regard of asymmetry, they don't have efficiency there.
Yeah.
They use way more energy than they should. And also, powerlifters are renowned for having really strong posterior chains, but not necessarily the strongest.
So back of the body, muscles on the back.
The butt, the hammies.
Yep.
You know about the traps.
Yep.
You know a powerlifter. They look tightness. I don't know if that's a word. But,
Bro, you look tightness.
rah.
I'm bringing that back. I like it.
Like a true titan. But you put them on their back and you say, hey, sit up. Getting up off the ground's a challenge.
Yeah.
And it's because they've created all this stiffness. And so I would say for you, Chris, one of the first steps is not don't lift, but we would look to change the lifts to get you moving through different planes of motion, which mean that you are going to start getting more conditioned at that, not this 2 foot, 2 hand kind of 2D type work. I think that will be a big step. And then the next step is creating the habit of improving range of motion. Because then we always talk about movement efficiency, don't we, Joe?
Yeah.
As the first step, please elaborate.
It's super poignant for Chris here. The movement efficiency piece, powerlifter on the mats, big and strong, get your hands on someone, fucking, you're a handful.
Crush.
But for you, moving sideways, getting up off the ground, like all these inverting, all these little things that jiu-jitsu requires cost you a lot of energy because your body's not comfortable moving in that way.
Restriction.
So then you end up thinking like, fuck, my gas tank sucks. When actually, no, you're just tight and inflexible. And because it costs you a lot of energy to move through these different ranges, your gas tank has to work really hard. Mm-hmm. So absolutely, my recommendation for Chris would be following our strength program, which is like standards, which is based on a lot of unilateral stuff, right? So it's going to be putting you into these new ranges of motion, and it's going to be making you more mobile in the process, and then also focusing separately on your mobility so that you are improving range of motion in the time that you spend on that. I think that I would definitely not be doing, if you could handle it, I would say don't do any squat, bench, or dead. Like you don't need it, right? You're already super strong.
Yeah, you're good there.
You do standards. There's pressing. There's single leg deadlifts. You're still getting that stuff. It's just different variations. But all that stuff is going to help you to unlock the body. It's going to increase your movement efficiency. And I think similar to our boy Cash, right?
Yes.
Who also came from a powerlifting background. He's actually said he's gotten stronger and he's put on more muscle and he moves better and is more flexible. He's like, fucking hell, like, just by doing all this other stuff.
Who'd have thought?
Yeah, there's actually like all this untapped low-hanging fruit. So that would be the big advice for Chris. What I would say too is depending on your size and how much muscle mass you're carrying, some of the more basic flexibility stuff might not be heavy enough for you. And this is where a lot of the things we have like the Jefferson curls and whatnot, the more loaded flexibility, sometimes people who are big and strong need that kind of load to actually get the response. Yeah. So have a play with that stuff. Don't feel the need to rush into it, but just keep in mind, hey, adding a bit of load and some contraction work into my flexibility might be the key to unlocking your big, strong rig.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's great advice.
Thank you for the voicemail. If you want to leave us one on the show, go to bulletprooffforbjj.com, hit the podcast tab, and that'll take you to a spot where you can leave us a voicemail. We'd love to hear it. It's great. It allows us to share information that perhaps we're not thinking about that can help you and can help the rest of the community. So please keep them coming. We appreciate it.
Definitely.
Thank you, guys. Thank you to the YouTube watchers. We'll catch you guys next week.
Peace.